everyone. Welcome to this special episode of Holy Land Uncovered. I'm Emily Francis. Join us as we take you here to Saloniki, Greece, the second largest port in Greece and one of the most important ports for over 2,000 years that is a gateway between Africa, Asia, and Europe. We are so happy now to be joined by the one and only Anastasia Raitanu, the president of the Tourist Guides Association of Northern Greece. Hello, and thank you for allowing us to come visit your beautiful city.
Oh, hello, and thank you for letting me be here.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. So we know about Saloniki. We know it's the second largest port in Greece, but the history of this port dates back 2,000 years, correct?
And even more.
Even more.
So Thessaloniki was founded in the 4th century BC, between 315 and 316 BC, by Cassander, who was the king of Macedon, or the Macedonian kingdom, successor of Alexander the Great. And when I think of the interesting sides of the history is that he named the city after the name of his wife. She was Thessaloniki, and she was the half-sister of Alexander the Great. So since then, for a bit less than 2,400 years, we're calling the city by the same name.
Saloniki, one of the prize pearls of the Byzantine time as far as architecture and art?
Thank you very much for this question, which is the main core and the main characteristic of Thessaloniki. So as you very well said, Thessaloniki has been appointed and it is characterized as a co-capital of the Byzantine Empire. So which means that after Constantinople, it was the second major urban center. It has been located in a very strategic place. It has been a major city port which connected and linked the maritime routes with the hinterland of the Balkan Peninsula, and it has been located in a very strategic place in the major road that connected Rome with Constantinople. So from Constantine the Great to the Paleologan era, that is from the middle of the 4th century until 1453, Thessaloniki never stopped functioning as a major urban center. Here in the city lived and worked many major artists who really created amazing iconographical programs in terms of frescoes, painting, as well as mosaics. So here, when a visitor comes here and wants to see what the Byzantine past left to our days, he has the opportunity, the unique opportunity to see frescoes and mosaics dated from the 5th century up to the 15th.
Wow. Anastasia, tell us about Hagia Sophia and why it's such an important landmark of this great city.
So this is one of the most important churches of the city. It was built originally in the 5th century AD, obviously, but then it got destroyed by a fire in the 7th and it was rebuilt. Of course, there have been a lot of changes in the structure of the building. Originally, the middle section was higher than what we're looking at today, and the two side sections were lower. So in the 9th century, there were galleries added to the side section so that it got the shape that you see now, the one that reminds us of a box. But inside, there are wonderful mosaics, then of the 9th, the 10th, and the 12th century with golden background, which makes the monument very, very important, very special, because it does not happen very often that we have wall mosaics of the Byzantine time period so well preserved as in this monument. started constructing it when Emperor Galerius, who ruled together with Diocletian, had moved his political seat to Thessaloniki. So he had a palace built, he had the Rotunda built, this round building. The idea is the same as of the round building, the Pantheon in Rome. Of course, this is a lot smaller and was built later, but the idea is the same because we're still in the Roman Empire. So most probably it was built to become a temple of some of the pagan gods. We don't know exactly, but it never did. So a bit later it became a Christian church, most probably in the time of Theodosius the Great, so most probably 5th century. So there are mosaics, wall mosaics still that remain in there, either end of the 4th century or beginning of the 5th century, they're dated. And then later on, when the Ottomans were here, it was converted in the 16th century into a mosque.
What is behind us and why is it such an important landmark in the city of Saloniki?
So this has become the landmark, main symbol of the city because of the location on the waterfront, and it is a tower that was part of the fortifying wall of the city and was built in the 15th century after the city was occupied by the Ottomans. So it was built by the Ottomans and replaced the older Byzantine tower that got destroyed during the fight and the occupation. It was originally used as a prison for many centuries. Then the prison was moved in the end of the 19th century. Then people did not really know what to do with it. There was even in the end of the 19th century and the early of the 20th a committee that was responsible for the beautification and modernization of the city. So they decided to demolish it because they considered it an obstacle. Thank God they ran out of money. And then during the Second World War they even painted little houses and trees around the tower trying to camouflage it, as during the World Wars there was to the right of the tower there was a small airport, so the area was bombed in. Of course you cannot really camouflage a tower by painting it. I mean, you can see it's a tower, but thank God it was not hit.
When people think of cuisine in Greece, they often think of phyllo dough. But what if we took you to a place that makes bougatsa? And it's a place that people from all over the city travel to because they say it is the best in town. Here's a look at Mideast Eats.
Today, we're making bougatsa, a traditional Greek breakfast pastry prepared from phyllo dough. The very first traditional bougatsa was made with no filling at all, but later, fillings such as custard, cheese, minced meat, and spinach were added. The name bougatsa comes from the Ottoman word boatsa, which is believed to be derived from the Latin word focaccia. My bougatsa shop is located right outside the historical center of Thessaloniki, in an area called Kalitea. This place was opened by my father in 1969. I was practically born here. The recipes we use from the very first day belong to my grandfather, who was a bougatsa maker himself. He was born in Caesarea, Cappadocia, where it's believed that the very first bougatsa was made during the Byzantine era. Bougatsa is mostly eaten as street food because the dough-making techniques might be too challenging to make at home. After coming out of the oven, it's cut into small pieces, eaten by hand, which makes it taste even better. In general, there are 3 factors that create the magic behind the bougatsa: high-quality ingredients, professional dough-making techniques, and most of all, having the passion for it. If you don't love what you do, it'll never be good enough.
Οπότε αυτό δεν υπάρχει άλλο μαγικό.
We're going to take a short break. Please don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll have much more of our special Holy Land Uncovered episode on location in Saloniki. Stay tuned. now to be joined by the one and only Voula. She is not only the first female Olympic gold medalist from Greece, but she's also the governor of the Saloniki metropolitan area and the president of the Saloniki tourism organization. As if she doesn't have enough going on. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome, Emily.
Thank you for having us.
Have a nice time here in our city, in Thessaloniki. Thessaloniki, you know, my
This
English,
is a beautiful city.
I try. It's not only the beautiful city, it's the second Jerusalem.
Thank
From
you.
anybody.
Oh, we
You
love
must know that's along the story.
That is amazing. Now we're going to switch to Greek because
Yes.
she's more comfortable with Greek. So first, I want to start with you. You're a national icon here, the first female Olympic gold medalist. Tell us what sport and when.
Βαρκελόνη, 1992, 100 μέτρα με εμπόδια. Εκεί που
was,
κανένας
1992 in
μικρός δεν πιστεύει
Barcelona,
ότι μπορεί να
Olympic
κερδίσει
Games, then
τη
100
ζωή του,
meters,
τα
then
θαύματα
run the
υπάρχουν. If you don't believe to the miracles, you don't have it in your life. I believe in miracles and then I have lived it.
Okay, so not only in your role now as a vice governor, but also the head of tourism, we're seeing a lot of people. So what is it like now that you have more to do now that Corona is done and people are coming back to Saloniki?
Είναι ό,τι καλύτερο γιατί η
So I
Θεσσαλονίκη
think it is the greatest joy and it's a big responsibility because people have loved you, have embraced you, know you. So what they give you, you have to give it back to them. And that's what I'm doing now. So there's a lot to do and it is great. Thessaloniki has always been a multicultural city and we're doing a lot of work today. Most visitors come from Israel. Today, that's what our data shows. And now, of course, the tourism organization does a lot to promote the city and to help with this.
Voula, how important is the Jewish community in Saloniki already being here in history for so many years? Is it still a very important part of the modern city?
Η Θεσσαλονίκη δεν θα μπορούσε να υπάρχει χωρίς την κοινότητα των Εβραίων.
Thessaloniki could not have existed without the presence of the Jewish community, Jewish presence in the city since the beginning of the city, from the 4th century BC. Actually, since Thessaloniki was always a multicultural city, it is not us and them, it's always one, it's us.
The Holocaust and what happened to the Jews of Saloniki must be still very, very sad to the Greek people.
Η Θεσσαλονίκη έχει αγκαλιάσει όλους τους...
Thessaloniki is a city that has embraced refugees from all over the world. And our history was so that we have embraced refugees coming from the Black Sea or coming from Asia Minor, and especially after the last Greek-Turkish wars. And that is a city that knows what agony means, what displacement means, what loss means. So we knew exactly of how to embrace the Jewish community as well. So we know what it means to lose your own, and we know what the Second World War meant to these people.
So Voula, also I know that a Holocaust museum is under construction here in Saloniki. Tell us about the museum and why it's going to be such a jewel for the whole world.
Είναι αυτό που είπα τώρα, να ξαναπαντήσω το ίδιο.
So in Thessaloniki there was a Jewish community of about 55,000 people at the Second World War. Of those, less than 1,500 survived. Most of them were deported and vanished killed in the concentration camps. And therefore, we think that we should have a museum that shows this loss, that shows this agony, that shows what mass destruction and mass extinction of people means, so that we remember this in the present and we remember this in the future, and we can avoid this in the future, because if you forget your past, you forget things. And to show to the world that there is a way of living together without having to extinguish one another.
Να την ευχαριστηθεί, να μην πονάει.
Thank you so much. You're wonderful. I want to give you a hug.
Be here.
You're amazing. Thank you, Voula.
Come back again. Come back again. to have a fun. Emily, to have a fun next time.
For fun, not for work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are very, very, very sweet.
So are you. Jews have been living in Saloniki for over 2,000 years. And by the turn of the century, Jews made up more than half of the population here. But then the Holocaust happened, and the vast majority of the 50,000 in the Jewish community perished. Here's more in this next report. This impressive monument on the shores of the Saloniki port commemorates the death of tens of thousands of Jews who were sent to Nazi extermination camps during the Holocaust. Less than 2,000 survived from this glorious community, many of whom were hidden from the Nazis, including the family of Larry Sophia, the vice president of the Jewish community of Saloniki.
Our close family survived the Holocaust because they were hidden here in Greece. Both my father's family and my mother's family were both hidden in Greece, specifically in Peloponnese. They were hidden by a Christian family for more than a year. Of course, this family were awarded the Righteous Among the Nations title.
The vast majority of the Jews in Saloniki were Sephardic Jews, descendants of those who were exiled from Spain during the 1492 Inquisition.
From early 16th century until 1923 and the exchange of populations between Greece and Turkey, the Jews were the majority of the population in Thessaloniki.
For centuries, Saloniki was considered the Jerusalem of the Balkans. The Jewish community was educated and influential, making up more than half of the city's population, as even reflected in this Jewish museum.
They have a separate tradition. The Muslims spoke Turkish, the Christian Orthodox spoke Greek. The Jews spoke Ladino.
One of the most famous or infamous figures associated with the Jewish community was Rabbi Zvi Koretz, the head of the community in the 1940s. He was accused of betraying the Jews during the Holocaust and collaborating with the Nazis. He remains controversial until today.
He thought that by participating and by obeying to whatever the Germans said at that time will save its community, but it was not the case. And we have cases from other communities in Greece that you had the leaders that were saying to their members, no, leave, go away. I don't think that he betrayed his community, but I think that he didn't understand the impact of what was happening at that time.
Most of the synagogues were destroyed in a city fire in 1917. But today, the community is seeing a revival. Despite its small size, 2 major synagogues are active in Saloniki.
We have an elementary school for the Jewish children, and we are very proud of that. We have an elder house for the elder people. And we have a summer camp.
The story of the Greek Jews, and especially those of Saloniki, is less well known to the wide public. But when we dive deep into the story, we can learn not just about Judaism and faith, but also about the history of the second biggest city in Greece. Back with the one and only Anastasia in a beautiful place. Tell us where we are.
So where we are in the central part of Greece. It's an area called Meteora. It's called like that because the rock formations that we have all around seem like rocks hanging between heaven and earth.
The rock formations, like why does it look like this? It's very unique.
So many thousands of years ago, due to the movement of the tectonic plates, 2 big mountain ranges emerged, one opposite to the other, and there was a huge lake formed between them. It was filled with water from the rivers that had been formed all around it, and of course the rivers would wash down lots of different materials like silt, like mud, like pebbles. All of that settled down on the bottom of the lake, but then the erosion started as well. Is again due to earthquakes and the tectonic movement, there were cracks in the bottom of the lake. So the water water started sinking very slowly until there was a major earthquake. There was an opening between the two mountain ranges, and all the rest of the water that was still in the lake, it was pushed out of that suddenly. So whatever is left standing is the most solid part. So these are the rocks today. In the 12th century, they already had a small community formed. They had a representative who was known as Protos, that means the first one. They also had the first church built at the foothills of one of the rocks. So the first monastery was built in 1366. It only takes one to make the beginning. After that, almost on every rock, a monastery was built. There were two periods of that were the peak of the monasteries, the 14th and the 16th century. These rocks, of course, are natural fortifications, but you have yourself to be able to go up there. So how they would do it, the first monks, it is said, they would climb as far as they could, and then they would have thick, short rods, wooden rods with them. They would drill holes into the wall of the rock, stick those wooden rods in there, like making it look like a small staircase, like a ladder, climb up there, then take the first one out, stick it up above their heads in there again, and climb up that way. Very, very dangerous. The first one who would be on the rock would have also the long rope to help then bring up, then pull up materials, then help also the next one go up. One expects to see is first of all an inner courtyard. Then in the inner courtyard usually is the main church, the Katholikon, same word as Catholic, as Greek it means general, the one for everybody. And then around that inner courtyard were all the rest of the facilities and the rooms that were needed, like the cells, their rooms, like the workshops, like the baths, the restrooms, the kitchen, everything that they needed. And the exterior wall was built like a fortifying wall to protect everybody who was inside.
Thank you so much for watching our special Saloniki, Greece episode of Holy Land Uncovered. I'm Emily Francis. We really enjoyed being here and being able to share this with you, our viewers. Please feel free to contact us on social media. And of course, why not come visit this magical, majestic city? Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you back here soon.